Hello Edexcel students, what a top video this is for you guys to help you smash your paper 1 to revise effectively. We're covering hot topic areas for paper 1 this year. Your job is to weigh up these topic areas with an extra 5-10% of your time devoted to these areas so that if they come up, you're laughing, you can hit the highest marks possible. But also you're not disregarding other parts of the course, you're revising everything still, so that even if these topic areas don't necessarily feature, you've still got the content to access the top marks for other questions as well. Note that there will be a lot of context coming in this video. Don't get too wound up with the context. Know the basics of the context in your revision so that you've got good application for an essay, but also so that you can weigh up core arguments for a given topic area with that context. That's your job. Note that this is one video in my revision for 2023 exams playlist. There are many other videos already uploaded and will be uploaded that will go into that playlist. Make sure you've watched those videos all in that nice playlist for you. Also note I have a bespoke Edexcel exam technique playlist where I break down all the questions that will come in your exams and give you exam technique guidance, structure guidance, number of points guidance, writing skills guidance to help you score the highest marks in your essays. Make sure you watch those videos and also make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any new uploads coming to guide you for your final exams. So let's get into it. What are major paper 1 hot topic areas for this year? Well, the first hot topic area is market failure. Give this extra weight in your revision. When this question comes up, it's normally linked to themes in the UK, but also globally. So let's look at what some major themes are. On the negative externality side, climate change is a dominant theme, policies to bring down CO2 emissions. In the UK recently, we've been debating very hard the need for a carbon tax. We don't have one yet, but we've been debating it. Many other countries have one. So know the merits and the potential drawbacks of a carbon tax. Note lots of other policies we've used already. We've introduced a policy by 2030 banning the sale of new petrol and diesel cars. By mid-2030, banning the sale of new gas-powered boilers. But also note that since we've left the European Union, we've introduced our own tradable pollution permit scheme called the ETS, the emissions trading scheme. But also note that rather perversely it might sound like, our government have cut subsidies for electric cars and for solar panels. Make sure you understand the rationale of that, the pros and cons of that idea. Sticking with negative externalities, that ginormous market failure to do with plastic waste, but also encouraging greater recycling to try and deal with that issue. Note the alcohol minimum pricing that we've seen in Scotland, started in 2018, one of the only countries in the world that I've known to use a minimum price to deal with negative externality market failure. Prior to that, many examples of minimum prices for other goals, but not a minimum price to deal with negative externality market failure. Scotland won the first, Wales followed in 2020, Republic of Ireland followed in 2022. So plenty of time has passed, lots of case studies written about the impacts of this policy, know about it well, could easily be a feature of your exam this year. But also vaping, whether vaping is a good way to get people off traditional cigarettes or whether there is a market failure with vaping in itself. On the positive externality side, know about the market for higher education, for healthcare in the UK, and whether tuition fees, whether state provision is the most effective way of allocating resources towards those markets. On the state provision side, more generally, we can link to internet provision, whether there should be state provision of high-speed internet. We can also link state provision to flood defences to solve a public good market failure there, whether state provision of flood defences in the UK is working, whether it's the most effective policy, given that we're in a flood-prone country in the UK and that there isn't adequate provision of flood defences by our government. So yeah, state provision question linked to that could be quite interesting. And generally speaking, externalities linked to Crossrail and HS2. Know a bit about those two infrastructure projects as well. Then to market structures. Know your market structures inside out, all of them. I have my eye on competitive markets. Monopolistic competition, perfect competition are the ones that stand out. Maybe a bit of oligopoly, but especially the competitive markets, perfect comp, monopolistic comp. But your job is to learn them all. When you're learning them all, get your characteristics learned, get your diagrams learned, because your diagrams show you how firms are behaving, the prices they're charging, the quantities they're producing, the profits they're making. From there, you can then work out your pros and cons of each market structure. So know your market structure as well, but especially monopolistic competition, perfect competition, but also don't forget sub-branches of market structures, in particular, natural monopoly and price discrimination. Know your market structures well. And then following market structure is a major hot topic area of 4 policies: monopoly regulation, privatization, deregulation, and nationalization. Learn these policies very well. At their most extreme, they could be individual 25 markers, but Edexcel normally love these policies within section B of paper 1. So this topic area comes after your market structures. These policies are there to deal with inefficient market structures. Edexcel will call this government intervention within market structures, but I prefer simply just saying it's monopoly regulation, privatization, deregulation, nationalization. Know these policies well, but also there are major themes linked to those policies. For example, in the UK, the energy price cap, not just because of what we've seen the last year and a half, actually go all the way back to 2018. Since its introduction, this price cap has been really a complete failure. So it's a major theme going all the way back. Know a bit about it. Also, the proposed merger between Asda and Sainsbury's in 2019, a mega merger. If it would have gone ahead, it actually was blocked on the grounds of the public interest by the CMA. So very interesting case study, that one. Get into it, know a bit about it, know the pros and cons. Very interesting. That could easily feature maybe section B, maybe a 25 marker on that. Also, regulation against tech companies, a major theme, especially windfall taxation. We know there's been windfall tax on energy profits recently, but we also have a windfall tax on the revenue of major big tech companies. So know a bit about that regulation and wider regulation given the monopoly abuses of tech companies. And lastly, a major theme at the moment in the UK is that of nationalisation. Whether we should nationalise our steel industry, whether other industries like water, like mail should be renationalised, and also whether we just need a wider nationalisation of our rail network, given that we've seen franchises like East Coast Main Line, like Northern, being taken under public ownership. So there's some major themes, but this general topic area, know very well. 4 policies to understand in big detail. Videos on the channel will cover you completely. And lastly, know your labour market very, very well. Edexcel soon to be enjoying questions about labour market as big 25 markers, but of course could be section B essays as well. There are major themes linked to the labour market all over the place in the UK, most notably the role of trade unions. Not so much because of recently their strikes and fighting for higher pay, but actually over time, falling trade union density, falling trade union membership in the UK, whether that's something to be concerned about or not, whether that links to inequality or not, whether that's good news or bad news for workers. Just know about the pros and cons of falling trade union density. But also since COVID, the role of the government as a monopsony employer, keeping the wages of public sector workers quite low. We've seen the negative impacts of that. So know about monopsony impacts. Other major themes are to do with wage differentials. Edexcel haven't touched 2 major wage differentials in the UK. Ethnic differentials and regional differentials. The fact that in the south, wages, incomes are much higher than they are in the north. So for these wage differentials, know why they are occurring and think about potential policy solutions to them as well, if you think there needs to be policy solutions. And lastly, know about flexible labour markets, the gig economy in the UK, whether that's a good thing or not, that labour markets are moving that way, whether there needs to be greater government intervention, whether there needs to be a greater role for the government in dealing with the gig economy with more flexible labour markets. So they are the major hot topic areas for you Edexcel students. Remember what I said, weigh these topic areas up, an extra 5-10% of your time in revision, but do not disregard other parts of the course. Your job is to learn everything, but to give extra weight to these areas, whereby if they come up, you're laughing. If they don't worry about it. You revised everything else. You should still be able to score the highest marks. So yeah, enjoy revising these topic areas. If they come up, you're in a great place. And also make sure you guys are watching all the other videos that are there to help you maximize your performance, maximize your grade for your final exams. The revision for 2023 exams playlist is the key one to keep focused on. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Many more videos to come. Stay tuned for those. I look forward to seeing you then.